Alaska, the last frontier, where snow-capped peaks, endless wilderness, and postcard-perfect towns promise adventure and freedom. But here's the truth nobody puts on the brochure. Some of these towns may look beautiful on the outside, yet living in them can feel more like a survival test than a dream come true. In this countdown, we're exposing 5 towns in Alaska that look nice, but aren't. These are places where the scenery is stunning, but the reality includes soaring crime rates, sky-high living costs, brutal winters, and isolation so extreme that even a trip to the grocery store can feel like an expedition. So before you pack your bags for a fresh start in the north, or daydream about a cozy cabin lifestyle, you'll want to see the flip side of life in Alaska's most challenging towns. Because while the mountains may be breathtaking, the daily struggles here can take your breath away in an entirely different way. Stick around because number 1 might just shock you. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps us keep uncovering the real stories behind America's most talked about towns. Number 5. Bethel. Remote, expensive, and struggling. At first glance, Bethel looks like the picture of Alaskan charm, a small community along the Kuskokwim River with endless access to fishing, hunting, and a tight-knit local culture. But dig a little deeper, and you'll find a place where everyday life is far tougher than it seems. Let's start with the basics: cost of living. Groceries in Bethel regularly cost 50–80% more than the national average. Why? Because the town is so remote that nearly everything has to be flown in or barged up the river. A gallon of milk here can run close to $10. Affordable? Not even close. Then there's the economy. Median household income hovers around $70,000, but poverty affects nearly 20% of residents, a mismatch driven by high prices and limited job opportunities. Pair that with ongoing struggles with alcohol abuse and crime rates higher than most Alaskan towns, and the so-called quaint remote lifestyle starts to look more like constant stress. So while Bethel might look appealing on a postcard, living here means paying sky-high prices, dealing with social challenges, and facing isolation that wears on even the hardiest residents. Number 4. Wasilla. Fast growth, big problems. Wasilla may be one of the most recognizable towns in Alaska, thanks to its rapid growth and its role as a commuter hub for Anchorage, but beneath the surface, it's a place where daily life isn't as smooth as the real estate brochures suggest. With about 10,000 residents and many more in the surrounding Matanuska-Susitna borough, Wasilla has grown quickly in the past few decades, but fast growth hasn't brought stability. Instead, it's created strained infrastructure, rising housing costs, and one of the highest crime rates in Alaska. FBI data shows property, crime, and theft are consistent headaches here, with break-ins and vehicle theft especially common. The cost of living is another hidden downside. While not as extreme as in rural Alaska, groceries, housing, and utilities are still well above the national average. Combine that with limited local job opportunities. Many residents commute an hour to Anchorage for work, and you're left with a town that looks affordable at first, but drains your wallet over time. Wasilla markets itself as a family-friendly city surrounded by mountains and lakes. And while that part is true, the reality includes overcrowded schools, long commutes, and safety concerns that make many residents second-guess calling Wasilla home. Number 3. Juneau. On the surface, Juneau looks like a dream destination. Alaska's capital city is surrounded by breathtaking mountains, glaciers, and the waters of the Inside Passage. Cruise ships pour in every summer, tourists fill the shops, and the natural beauty is undeniable. But living here full-time is a completely different story. The first thing you'll notice is that Juneau is only accessible by plane or boat. There are no roads that connect it to the rest of Alaska. That means everything, from food to fuel to building supplies, has to be shipped in. The result? Prices skyrocket. Grocery bills here are some of the highest in the state, and housing is notoriously expensive. Median home prices regularly top $500,000, far above what many locals can afford. Then there's the weather. Juneau is famous for its rain, with over 220 wet days a year. Winters are long, dark, and icy, while summers are short and damp. Outdoor recreation is stunning if you're visiting, but day-to-day life often feels like a battle against the climate. Add in limited job opportunities outside of government and tourism, and many residents feel stuck between high costs and limited options. For all its postcard views, Juneau is a tough place to actually call home. Number 2. Fairbanks. Fairbanks often gets called the Golden Heart City, a gateway to Alaska's interior, and a hub for those seeking the true northern experience. It's the kind of place where you can spot the northern lights in your backyard and take pride in the pioneering spirit. But for all the charm, living here full-time comes with challenges that test even the toughest residents. Start with the winters. Temperatures can plunge to -40 degrees Fahrenheit or lower, and it's not just a few nights a year. We're talking about weeks of brutal cold, where cars won't start without being plugged in, and exposed skin can freeze in minutes. Combine that with only a few hours of daylight in midwinter, and seasonal depression becomes a real issue for many locals. Heating your home isn't just necessary, it's expensive. Energy costs in Fairbanks are among the highest in the country, and the reliance on fuel, oil, or wood stoves makes winter survival a financial strain. For a lot of families, a huge portion of their income goes straight into keeping the house livable. Crime is another issue. While Fairbanks isn't the most dangerous place in Alaska, its crime rates are higher than the national average. Property crimes in particular are a concern, and residents are quick to warn newcomers about locking up their cars and homes. Yes, Fairbanks offers northern beauty and a tight-knit community, but the high cost of living, long dark winters, and above-average crime make it one of the hardest towns in Alaska to truly settle into. Number 1. Anchorage. Anchorage is Alaska's largest city, home to nearly 40% of the state's population. On the surface, it looks like the perfect compromise. Modern conveniences, job opportunities, and access to breathtaking wilderness all around. But look a little closer, and you'll see why so many locals admit Anchorage is one of the hardest places to live in Alaska. The first issue is cost. Anchorage consistently ranks among the most expensive U.S. cities for groceries, housing, and basic goods. Because nearly everything has to be shipped in by boat or flown in, prices climb far above what you'd pay in the lower 48. A gallon of milk that might cost $3.50 elsewhere can hit $7 here. Housing isn't cheap either, with median home prices well above the national average. For many families, simply staying afloat financially is a daily struggle. Then there's crime. Anchorage has one of the highest crime rates in the country, with violent crime nearly triple the national average. Property crimes like car theft and burglary are especially common, leaving residents on edge. Add to that a visible homelessness crisis that the city has struggled to manage, and safety becomes a real concern. Weather is another challenge. Winters are long, dark, and icy, making driving dangerous and outdoor life difficult. Even with modern infrastructure, the cold is unrelenting. Combine that with frequent earthquakes, Anchorage sits in one of the most seismically active zones in North America, and the last frontier lifestyle feels more like a constant test of resilience. Yes, Anchorage offers stunning views of mountains and quick access to nature, but beauty doesn't erase the reality of high crime, soaring costs, and harsh winters. For many, Anchorage is less of a dream destination and more of a survival story, and that's why it takes the #1 spot on our list. And there you have it, the 5 towns in Alaska that may look appealing at first glance, but come with struggles most people don't realize until they live there. From high costs to extreme weather and safety concerns, life in the last frontier is anything but easy. Now I want to hear from you. Which Alaska town do you think is the hardest place to live, and why? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the best and worst places to live across America.